Hello and welcome to Build Horizons, a show about picking the life you want to lead and how to make it happen. Today we're going to talk about a number of things. So very exciting. We're going to talk about comparison, feeling invisible at work, starting new journeys, fears, and how to get out of rut. But first, play the intro.
Sun's coming up and the road's wide open. Lace 'em up, big dreams unspoken. Laugh till it hurts with miles to go. So run far, build it slow. Chasing down a brighter horizon. You and me in a road unknown. Building horizons. Let's go!
All right, I'm Jeff. This is Katie. Click subscribe and let's get rolling. Katie, you want to kick us off today? What did we do yesterday?
Yeah, I first hit the auto button. It's not on.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I got you.
Great.
I got you.
Production notes.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, last night we were kind of smoked from the week. It's not. Oh, there it is. I was like, oh, it's not working. But we decided that we needed to just kind of veg out last night and watched a movie and watch the first episode of season 4 of Ted Lasso, which it was just so fun.
Yeah. What is unique about give some background about Ted Lasso and maybe even yourself in general. And while you give this little monologue, I'm going to fix one of our cameras while you do that.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to spoil it, but Ted Lasso is a story about a guy from Wichita, Kansas. Holla, represent Wichita.
Wichita, yeah, that's what we always say here in Wichita.
And he gets recruited to go, or he gets hired, but like hired not in a good way, hired because he had no experience to go and coach a football team.
Did you just start it? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Did you start at the beginning of Ted Lasso? Like we're just gonna walk ourselves through it?
I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. But anyways, it's just a really wholesome show. And
the coach is from Wichita.
Yeah,
we're from Wichita.
We're from Wichita, born and raised.
Yeah, and this season
really
starts
cool.
out in Kansas City, which is near and dear to us as well.
Yeah.
Spent lots of time up in KC, and it was fun to see all the different stuff up there.
Oh, it was so much fun. They did a good job, and obviously I don't want to spoil anything, but it represented some Casey Current stuff, which is so fun.
I don't think there's really any spoilers in the first episode, to be fair. Like, there's literally nothing that actually happens. So.
Oh, kind of.
Okay.
But anyways, it was just
and Katie's boss for her current job is actually from the UK.
Yeah. So she's from the UK, lives in the UK. So I feel it's so funny seeing the dynamic of the crew coming in from London and then Ted Lasso being in Kansas City for this part of the season. There are so many things that relate to me and my boss from this episode. Just so funny. I love it so much. And I actually was the one who told her to watch Ted Lasso, and it's like one of her favorite shows now.
Yeah, I feel like we both do a good job of living into our stereotypes pretty
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. But that's okay. I love him, and I'm okay being associated with that because he's fun.
There's worse things.
There are worse things for sure. I mean, he's not perfect by any means, but I don't know. It's just so fun.
Yeah,
it was just such a good episode, really wholesome. I'm excited for this season. I know it was kind of resurrected. So we'll see how it goes. But episode 1, 2 thumbs up for me.
Yep. All right. So we're going to do something a little bit different to kick off our show today. We're going to answer questions, but rather than questions that we asked one another, which is normally what we'll do. And we'll still have those, to be clear, because there's going to be things that we definitely want to talk about. But we've wanted to mix it up a little bit. And so right now we're going to go through and answer some questions off of Reddit that have not gotten responses or if they've gotten minimal amount of responses and feel like they deserve a proper answer. And so I'm just gonna. I don't know if you looked at any of these that you wanted to kick us off with, or like one that you were like, "Oh, this is a good one,"
I might just start
or we
at
could
the
just start at the
top.
top.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it to you? Or you wanna read it?
Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
So this was, so then and I will say, I didn't have much prep for these. So we're kind of just diving in. Question 1, losing motivation because my work feels invisible. Has anyone else been through this?
Well, yeah. Okay.
Did I read that wrong?
I'm gonna fire you from reading the
wait.
question. So it's
Okay,
it's
wait.
from
I see
Harry
the
C4,
question. Oh, okay. Sorry.
and yes, that is the title of the Reddit post. Good job. 10 out of 10. We are a high production quality podcast.
Okay.
I mean, you did remind me to hit auto on the thing, so I'll give you credit for that. But yeah, it's a person who feels like they're at work. They spend a lot of time working and building things. They're definitely more in the doer seat, and they feel like the people doing that doing seat stuff, including themselves, barely get mentioned in meetings and conversations and things. And it kind of end with the thought that they can't shake the feeling that people doing the implementation become invisible. And so, how would you give advice to somebody who feels like they're losing motivation because they feel like their work isn't being noticed by the people that are helping, kind of driving things forward?
Are you asking me that question? I'm going to pass it back to you because I need to think about it for a second. Because this is something I've dealt with kind of, but I've also only pretty much, I mean, yeah, I guess. I've only worked in small companies. I've never worked for anything like a corporate. And so I do feel like this isn't something I can relate to so much because when you work in a small company, there's just a few of you. So you're all wearing so many hats anyways that I've never really felt this. Now, I think that there are things that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if like you feel that there's been times where you just don't feel appreciated, or, you know, if you think back on, you know, any prior roles where you had to do a lot of things and, you know, that really didn't get valued at where you thought it was valued, or people underestimate.
That's true. I have had that before. And where I was working, I mean, literally going through burnout and just bending backwards trying to get things done on projects, and was just not appreciated for the effort I was putting into. And for me, the best decision was I tried to have a conversation, and it wasn't really going in a path in a way that I felt was going to be productive for my future, and decided at that point that I was going to switch things up and start looking for something else. But I know that's not everyone's answer or everyone's path, but that was just what was right for me. And also I do think sometimes that is the right answer for some, is to remove yourself from that situation and try to find something else, because there's a lot of things. And I don't think anyone should ever feel trapped in a situation, especially if this is how they're feeling. But I think maybe you have a different perspective of that. So I'd be interested to hear what your perspective on that is.
Yeah. So I guess one thing that I've always found helpful in general is taking interest in other people's work. And I know that's going to sound like not an exact direct answer to feeling like your work is invisible. But anytime that you are someone working on the implementations stuff, like if you're the one actually getting in and doing the work and making the projects happen and things, you almost certainly have other people that you're having to do that alongside, or you're having to work with the decision maker that you're referencing, and being that in between. Either way, I think spending time talking, asking questions, and having the opportunity to have like those discussions, even if they're not formally like in the project meeting or something like that, I think that is helpful, because you get a broader perspective for when you're doing the work. And I guess the other thing I would say is the opportunities that you'll have to talk about those more strategic conversations might be few and far between, but you don't have to just take the ones that happen as the only opportunities. Like you can almost certainly take the initiative to start some of those conversations yourself. And if you do that, if you spend the effort to have those, like to start those conversations, then people will associate you more in talking about like, okay, well, we want to take this project this other way. Let's bring in that such and such person because they were the ones helping do it. And I know they kind of understand things as we've talked about it. And I think you just kind of build momentum that way. I mean, it definitely sucks to like do a lot of work and not feel like you get the recognition and you know, you're ultimately having to be the one, the glue that's keeping it all together. But at the same time, I feel like people paint themselves in boxes based on like title and stuff like that way too much. And I just don't think that that's necessary. Obviously, each like organization's culture is going to be different on that. And like what's okay to do or what's okay to push on or how much time can you spend, you know, striking up conversations about strategy. But even if you're on the low end of that spectrum, the answer is not going to be zero. Like you can, you know, cross some of those lines a little bit. And yeah, I would just say don't be boxed into where you feel like your role is just because of the title and the work that you're definitely, you know, there's certain things that you're just going to be required to do. But that doesn't need to be 100% of your time. You can spend time asking questions, being curious, and doing and asking things that are beyond, you know, whatever your title and role are.
I think too, one thing people might not know, especially people that don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about themselves and talking strategically, what are some good tools or what's some good advice on how to, like, what type of questions to ask if somebody feels that way? If they're already not comfortable, but they're in, for example, this project meeting or want to talk about something that they're working on with the group, how would someone go about doing that?
Well,
or what type of things could they talk about?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't know the specifics, but the things that I would say, one, don't ever like check your ego. Like there's no value in pretending to know stuff that you don't know. And one, I mean, people will know, like if you have more senior people in the room who have more experience, like with the business side of things, like there's no reason to pretend that you don't know, or there's no reason to pretend that you know something if, you know, other people are going to be more than aware that you don't know. I think that the willingness and vulnerability, like the willingness to show vulnerability that like, hey, I'm just going to ask kind of this stupid question. It sounds a little silly, but I don't understand what we mean when we say XYZ thing. I think you might, that on the surface might seem like, oh man, they're going to know that I'm stupid or something. But in reality, what that shows is like, hey, if I'm explaining something, they're either going to get it or they're going to stop me and ask me. And honestly, like as a person who, you know, leads people, that's like the best possible outcome. I like, you know, to spend my time wisely, and I don't want to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff that is over someone's head because they actually missed a point like 30 minutes ago.
And more than likely, they're not the only one with that question. Like there are other people in the room that may have that same question or might need a little more explanation of that thing.
Yeah.
More than likely. Not always, but it's probably there.
And so there's a ton of value in just being willing to ask silly things.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say too is specifically ask people about their work and learn about what they do in their day to day. First off, everybody likes to talk about what they do, so that's a very easy way to like just build a relationship. But two, and this has been like, if I could like tell people like one of the superpowers of working in a company is being a person who can bridge the gap with other like areas or other verticals. Like if you're a person in marketing, but you can speak a little bit of IT stuff, you're going to be like twice as valuable as someone who just knows the marketing stuff. Or, if you're, someone on product side or customer support side or whatever, like if you can speak the language of one of the other areas or multiple other areas over time, it's just so valuable.
Yeah.
Because nothing in a business gets done alone. Nothing big, nothing important. And so if you could be a person that can be that glue like that, if you want to be a part of those strategy conversations, that's a surefire way to do it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's really good. I remember when a little bit of a story, personal story, but when I started back at work during COVID after staying home for a few years with the kids, I remember getting put into some meetings, and it was it was marketing and growth driven, and it was just so over my head, and I didn't even know where to ask questions at. But I think had I gone back and asked those questions, it would have really helped me in the long run. But I think, again, like I'm sure other people have felt this way. Yeah. I was too embarrassed to admit that I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't know what the acronyms were, what some of the things they were talking about even meant. But had I see, and now it's so funny. I'm much more comfortable asking questions, and if there's genuinely something I have no idea about, because we do with my job now, we do a lot of med device regulatory things, and there's just a lot there to understand. And it takes, and again, I do think it's a little bit of the working relationship, but I have no hesitance of asking questions and being able to grow in that space, and getting comfortable with that. And I do think it's something, the more you do, the more comfortable you become with it too.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. And sometimes the time might not be right there in the moment, but I think one skill that is super important to develop is the ability to write down questions and then follow up with what you write down, like in meeting notes and things. Because, if you're at a meeting of 30 people, probably isn't the time to raise your hand and ask like, what does
you'll be that guy.
What's ROAS mean? Or something. But if you're in a small group setting, absolutely. Or if, you're in that larger group setting, then follow up with somebody who knows clearly, what that stuff is about. I guarantee you people will be receptive to that more often than not.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
All right. I think we got that one.
Yeah.
That one now has a response.
Okay. So can I try again to do this?
All right. You wanna handle Roses Are Lead?
Yes. So question comes from Roses Are Lead. Can I just read what she said
Summarize.
Summarize it. Okay. So it looks like
we don't need to do the top part about YouTube and bodybuilding and stuff.
Comparison is the death of joy. So how do I stop? But this person was basically talking about they were seeing a YouTuber that was bodybuilding, and then I
said we didn't have to go into the specifics.
I don't know how to not.
The end. How do I stop comparing myself to other people in situations like this?
Okay. So just so we could just be fair here, I read the question on the last one, but then it didn't make a lot of sense. But then on this one, the question did make sense. So I think.
How about you let me read these, since I actually know what they're about?
That's probably a good idea.
Instead of you trying to steal my thunder here, and then just. Okay, I really hand me the ball. I got this. And then you just immediately drop it.
Oh my God.
Shame on you, Katie.
Okay, so back to the question.
Such an embarrassment. Just kidding. But yeah, okay. Comparison is the death of joy. How do I stop? Is Roses Are Lead's question. And there's a bunch of detail in there that doesn't make a ton of relevant. It's not super relevant to the actual root of it. But how do I stop comparing myself against other people in situations where it's not at all helpful or relevant even? And I would even ask, how do I stop comparing myself to other people? Hard stop.
I don't like that I have to be the first person to answer this question.
Is that why you want to be the question to ask?
Okay, but Okay, I'll do my best here to answer this right off the bat. So
I mean,
it's
like a classic right now. Like you're looking at highlight reels all the time of people's lives in social media.
We've
That's
kind
like
of talked
our
about
whole generation
this.
is defined by comparing yourself to others. So like, how do you not do that?
Well, and what I was saying is we kind of talked about this, but it's something I think I'm still. I mean, to be real, I work on this, and I feel like I've gotten better, and I think it takes a mental shift and a mental practice, just like anything is, with, meditation or starting something new. When you find yourself getting into that loop, identifying it and reversing it to be grateful for the things that you have. But it's so easy to do, especially when you're looking around and you think the grass is greener on that other side, but
Yeah,
it really isn't a lot of the time. But sometimes it is, but I think that you have to, it has to be like a mental discipline to not, there's like a big thunderstorm outside.
yeah. I just want to pause for a second. So like last week when we recorded, we had a thunderstorm of children, and to the extent that Katie even had to leave at one point. And now we have an actual thunderstorm, which is quite a much more peaceful, relaxing vibe than having your children rumble up above you. But I will say there's been a couple times where I thought we were hearing our kids or dogs or something, but it was just the thunder.
The thunderstorm.
But yeah, it's a lot more peaceful. Although, knowing our luck, we'll probably like lose power or something.
Well, no, now you've summoned the children, I think, but
that's fine.
anyways, I don't know where I was, but
that's okay. Let me
just being a mental practice, I think is a good thing. But I actually think, Jeff, you have like the best advice to do this, because there was one situation where I was talking with you about something for our future and comparing it to somebody else, and you hard stopped me and said comparison is a thief of joy. Just we're not even going to go there. And it was actually a really good indication, like just making me, whoa, I was going down a bad path and like there, and I think just like a hard stop for me was really helpful.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I find with that, like if you're in a situation with, especially like, let's say you're like in a work environment and somebody gets something that you wish that you could have gotten, to speak vaguely, the fact of the matter is, in the long run, it's not a zero-sum game. And if you can be genuinely happy for somebody without having the feelings of I'm bummed that I didn't get that, whatever, I think in the long run that gets recognized. And if there's a good thing that's happened to somebody around you, like to use this specific piece of it, they probably also feel a little imposter syndrome-y as well. And so if they have people around them that make them feel actually like celebrated, I think that speaks volume to you and your character, and that gets recognized. I would say more so in general, like if you're comparing yourself to like someone who has the end outcome you want, that you are striving for, but like it just feels like a really long way away. I think for me, the thing that I have to focus on is, maybe that is the goal. Maybe I can never even get to that point, or if I get to that point, it's going to certainly look a little different than what this looks like for this person. But for me, it refocuses not valuing the outcome so much. And we've talked about this before, but valuing the journey that you're in. And appreciating the steps that are like, okay, maybe I want to run a marathon and I have that aspiration, but today that's going to look like I'm going to run 2 miles, and that's not as glamorous, not as sexy. It's not as cool. It doesn't look as cool on Strava to run 2 miles as it does 26. But to make that dream happen, you have to be able to, you have to step up to the plate time and time and time again. and to have the motivation and the willingness to do that, to make that happen, to get that dream that you're after, you have to enjoy the journey. So I think that if you make the focus be less about the outcome and more on the journey, then it's a lot easier to not have that comparison thing. Because spoiler, the actual journey part of running is very similar, regardless of whether you're like a marathon qualifier or you're someone who's just starting out. And what I mean by that, obviously the specifics of the workouts are going to be quite different, but it's just hard. Like, it's just hard. It's hard if you're slow. It's hard if you're fast. It's hard if you're new. It's hard if you've been doing this for a long time. Now, certainly, again, I'm using painting with a broad brush there, but the thing that you're comparing, then you feel that jealousy or that negative feeling is coming from comparing the outcomes. If you compare the journey, then it's a very similar path.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you have any advice for people that when they get on social media and see the highlight reels, like, what would you say for them to help with that feeling?
I mean, I don't know. How do you like, do you struggle with that part of it? Like,
Not as much as I used to, but it used to be something that I definitely struggled with. And I think I would just need to turn off social media. I think part of it
is you have to decide. I mean, and this is true just about of anything. You have to decide, is the thing that I am consuming resulting in an outcome that I want? If you watch these things and you find it motivating and you feel like, okay, like I'm trying to get my mind to think like the people that achieve these things. And so, I consume this content and that makes me aspire to be a certain way, then that's great. Sure. Limit probably the amount of time you do it, because time spent on social media is not time actually doing the thing. But if you're going to spend some time, that's a positive outcome. If the outcome of the thing that you're consuming is like just depressing, that is not so great. Or if you feel like you just feel lacking or less than or whatever, then that probably needs to be eliminated or changed.
And it can be a slippery slope too, because I know a lot of the time we have, people that are content creators that get, brand deals and do a lot of advertising, and then you go and buy the things, and which it's good. It's not a bad thing. It just can, if you're constantly comparing yourself and like, ooh, I need that next shiny thing. Ooh, I need that next shiny thing. It can just be a little bit of a slippery slope, because that's you're not going to have joy in that. It's a very temporary thing. So you have to find something else, a joy somewhere else, rather than just that.
I really want to do this next question.
Okay.
So you want to read that one off to us? This is my favorite lot of the bunch.
Okay, so it comes from Lemonade 2250. Is it too late to start working on your goals? This person is 30 and wants to know if it's too late. 30 years old. And just wondering if they're overthinking it, or is it too late to change anything? Did I do that right?
I kind of like told you to summarize the other ones.
Well, then should I read
a whole bunch of extra things with this person? I feel like
okay, I'm gonna just read it from Lemonade 2250. I turned 30, but I don't know why it feels like it's too late to start doing anything. Just the thought of starting from scratch at 30 feels like pain and shame. I know every day I have the choice to get up and do something or just sit there and overthink.
Katie only has two modes. Completely like super high level. Like, I'm going to give you no details and I'm just going to read the title and say a bunch of, rambly things, or literally read and stuff like verbatim. There's no like, Katie doesn't know what skim.
Well, here's the thing, Duff. I never said I was going to be the best interviewer or reader of questions, but this is what you got.
Yeah. Well, skills, you can learn them. It'll be okay. We'll get you through this. Okay. So yeah, this person, they're 30. Is my life over, or is it too late to get started? And I can empathize with this one. This is like a straight over the plate Jeff type question.
Yeah.
Because I like, if you went from age 30 to 33 was probably my lowest point of like my life physically and mentally. I was drinking way too much. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Pretty bummed, depressed most of the time.
Yeah.
We didn't, because of a lot of that stuff, our relationship was, hit or miss on how we were doing. It was also a really hard time kids wise. Got two little ones. Those are hard years. I want to tell my funny story about
oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Google occasionally will give us like cute pictures from the past of our kids usually. And the one of them was a video, and I'm like, oh, this is our two kids when they were so little, and our son when he was little. Let's click on that one and just hear their little voices and what they are. I was just like expecting like that nostalgia thing of like, oh man, these kids, time flies, it goes so fast. And so I hit play on the video, and immediately it's like our kid hitting an iPad, like, pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, like punching it and jumping on it.
They're like throwing it on the ground and jumping on it, like
screaming.
It's like, yes, I remember what it was like. It was hard.
It was so hard. Oh, that made me laugh.
But yeah, so like, and then like I made some pretty significant life changes when I was 33 and 34, and and now I'm 37. Started a business at 36 that I have a lot of, when I think about things in the future that I'm excited about, that's definitely one of the things. And it's funny, these two questions paired together, like sometimes I think back of like, man, if I could go back in time, like here's all the things that I would do differently. Because 36 is a relatively old age if you're comparing yourself to like these other tech people who started coding in their like college dropouts, and they've been working since they were 18 or 20 years old on their thing, and they build these companies, and that's not going to be my story, obviously. And so there is an element, kind of going back above the comparison being the thief of joy. And is it too late to start working on your goals on this? But here's what I would say is I've learned a lot about who I am as a person, and I've learned a lot of skills. I've learned a lot about the world and business that change what it's like to start a business now than it would have been when I was 20 years old. I was an idiot. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. And so I'm a well-equipped person to, do things. I'm going to learn a ton of stuff anyways. But I feel like I have a good starting point that's valuable. And so, yeah, and I'm 36, 37 years old now. And I definitely don't feel like it's too late for me.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a point of encouragement to you, you're not going to get any younger. And so, like, do you want to look back at yourself as a 40-year-old and say, do you want to be asking the same question in 10 years? And the answer should be no. You should not want to ask this question in 10 years. So what do you need to do today to take a step down the path so that when you look back as a 32-year-old or a 33-year-old, you're like, I can be proud of how my life trajectory is going. I don't feel this way.
So before we actually went through and found these questions, I actually had written in a question that I think is a good just kind of add on to this conversation. If people feel unsettled or driven to do something but genuinely cannot figure out what it is, what advice would you give them?
Y- Definitely and this is true, both of that question and this question is start something.
Yeah.
There's nothing more clarifying than starting down a path and then realizing like, oh yeah, this is for me, or no, this is not for me. Or like, ah, man, I started on this road and I realized like, there's a ton of skills that I'm going to have to learn in order to figure out how to do this. Now you know. And so now you can start building those skills and start getting reps and getting at bats and having, that forward momentum. I can assure you that whatever path that you're going down, it's not going to look how you think it's going to look when you're at the beginning stages of it. There's no amount of YouTube videos or shorts or reels or there's no amount of scrolling through TikTok of people doing stuff that's going to help you understand what it's really like to get down and do it. The way that you figure out what that's like is to actually go and do the thing. But the good news is, like, whether you're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, like there's still time to figure it out. I was at a thing and I got to listen to Molly Bloom, which we actually just watched Molly's Game, her movie that's about her life, yesterday as well. And the quote from her speech that I attended was, your chances aren't limited. You have as many opportunities as you're brave enough to take, and you have as many chances as you're willing to take, brave enough to take. And that really resonated. Like there's using business as an example. I've tried. I've had this like pull in me to like start something that I've acted on. I don't know, like 20, 30 times. Like really, like if you really broke it down at the number of things that I've thought of at varying degrees, and maybe 10 of those where I spent a fair amount of time thinking that this was going to be the thing of the future, and then it ultimately turned into nothing. And like that can feel defeating, but those are now 10 things that aren't going to be the thing, or maybe they are, but it's just not right now, and you're not at the point where that makes sense to pursue. But you'll know more about it if you start a podcast with your wife. You'll have some things to harken back to, or lessons learned from prior attempts at doing podcast stuff.
Yeah.
And so this podcast itself is better for having done a podcast in the past. And I think it's hard to have those perspectives in the moment. But I mean, to go back to the question, is it too late to start working on your goals? I mean, I think anybody who writes that question knows what the answer that people will give is of course not. But just you're gonna have to trust me that, and I think maybe this is a good perspective to have, is if you look at yourself 2 years ago, do you feel like, oh man, I was I was just so much younger and better, and like I'm just now old and decrepit like 2 years later? I would anticipate, especially if you're going from 28 to 30 or 30 to 32, the answer is you feel like pretty much more or less the same person. Or within a stone's throw, obviously things can happen.
Yeah, right.
But like mentally, like it's not like you've just like really fallen off a cliff here. I could tell you that holds true. Like if I look back at my 30-year-old self compared to now, I mean, honestly, I feel better physically, mentally than I did at 30, just because of living a healthier lifestyle. And so when I look back at my 30-year-old to 37-year-old self, I feel good. Like I obviously I wish that I could go back in time and just have infinite amount of time. I think anybody would, love the opportunity to have that. But when I look back at myself now, when I am 44, I'm not going to think like, oh man, I was so old at 37. I can't believe I did that. I'm going to think like, oh yeah, that was a good time. I like, if I could go back to then, I would go back to then. And you're always going to think like, oh yeah, if I could go back to 30, yeah, I'd go back to 30. If you're 30 years old, like, oh man, I wish I could go back to my 20s and I could start that over. But you're like mentally, you still have a lot of gas in the tank. There's still a lot of life time. There's a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for someone like me, it might be hard if I had a drive or a want to do a thing, but I really couldn't put my finger on it. Like I couldn't figure out what that thing is. I think the advice you said to just start, but also, which I also wrote about, is maybe finding a mentor to help you work through that and really be diligent about that. If you don't have somebody in your life or you don't have a mentor, go look for one. They are out there and there are people that want to mentor people. And I think that is a really, really valuable thing. And when you have that relationship with somebody and you confide in them about that, that can be a really great driver too, to try to figure out what it is and then like start actually making actionable steps to getting it done and like really driving it forward. But do you want to talk about mentorship or something, or maybe not topic for today, but like what you have you experienced that before? Did that help you?
I think having someone who you can just talk to about your hopes and dreams and I think time spent on that is just so valuable. So yeah, I think in that sense, I think a mentor can be super helpful. If they have relevant experience in whatever it is that you're wanting to pursue, it's obviously extremely helpful.
Right.
But yeah, truly, I think whether it's with a mentor or reading or, whatever you're filling your brain with, if it is reflective of like direction and motivation and like just the core parts of you, I think that's such valuable time. How you walk through life each individual day is going to be dictated by some of those conversations, and that path that you're walking down is going to be like, in summary, that's going to be your life. Like that's it. That, how you live every day is how you live your life, and how you live those individual days is going to be, dictated by some of those more, like the subconscious motivators or subconscious, the processes that you just go through on a day to day. And if you can take time to speak about some of those subconscious processes, like why am I wanting to do this thing, or why am I going down this path, or how should I be handling this challenge? That makes those individual days that much more valuable, and you sum that over a long period of time that can completely change the trajectory of your life and where you're going.
Yeah. Well, it's really good.
All right. Next question, Kate. I mean, you're like a pro now. I want you to try to find the middle ground on reading it literally every syllable versus what is the spirit of the thing.
Okay. So this question comes from Important Middle 7949. Did I do that
right? Yep. Get it to us, Important Middle. What you got?
What's the fear you never actually say out loud to anyone? I feel like that's a good.
Yeah, they got the advice to say it out loud. It didn't fix anything. Didn't make it go away, but it did shrink down to normal size problems. But like how, what is a fear that you don't say out loud, or what's a fear that you have, and how do you manage some of that? I think would be probably a good pass at this.
What's your fear?
I don't know. I was thinking about this. I mean, first off, I would say I don't have any other than like big fears of like life is temporary and stuff like that. Like and there's only so much time and etc. Which is kind of counter to what I just said. Like there's a lot of time. I mean, I would say there's like some practical things of I sometimes worry that I myself am and like probably, and this is just like a good example of like, depending on where you're at in life, like this, you're just going to have different perceptions of this thing I'm talking about. But I think that there is another level to how I can spend my time and working on the business. And I'm not doing that thing, which is probably sounds crazy because I probably work like, I don't know, however many hours I'm awake minus a couple. But I do think that there's just certain things I do that are just like not actually moving the ball forward and kind of just working to make myself feel better, or just like tinkering, like just randomly bouncing place to place instead of intentionally focusing in on the thing that matters the most, which is why we had a conversation about what are the 3 things and what are the things that we need to do to make those things happen.
I feel like one disclaimer we should say too is this was in the small businesses thread. I think there are sometimes if you have like a fear, you should probably go to therapy. Just this was in like a small business Reddit subreddit. So I think it was more driven towards a business mindset than it is like, oh, I have this deep fear that I'm going to lose my family. That's probably something you need to go talk to a therapist about. So, but as far as, or, you know, however you need to handle that. But as far as like a business fear that I don't say out loud to anyone is definitely that it's just going to it's going to fail. That we're not going to be able to get this off the ground. And that's a huge fear. But
yeah, and where I don't have that fear, which is probably what makes me particularly well suited for this sort of thing, is like, okay, so what if everything we're doing right now doesn't work?
Yeah.
Like, is there any part of it that I can't? That's your fear.
That's my fear. Yeah.
So, which individual thing would you say, like, okay, well, if that doesn't work, we just can't figure it out? And because, like, to me, like, I don't know, let's say we do this podcast for 5 years and there's 4 viewers.
Yeah, I feel like we're on a sad viewer count right now from these past episodes. But all 14 of you that have listened, we appreciate you. Heart to you.
But if we go down that road and like that's the road we're on, like what does that matter? Or like if we start, trying to do this app thing, or, one particular app or whatever, all the apps and they all fail. Like then we'll know so much more on the other side of that will make whatever the next thing is make a lot more sense. Like there's nothing that's like, well, and now, and honestly, to go back to the Molly Bloom quote, like we'll have as many chances as we're brave enough to take. And I can assure you, like I'm brave enough to keep taking the next thing. Hey, got the hat quote.
Yep.
But yeah, like I don't have that specific fear.
Yeah. It's for me, it's very much like black and white. Like we're putting putting money into this thing, and that's not, hopefully it is. You can see the fear like coming to life right now.
Putting money in the wood chipper.
Yeah.
Straight to the furnace.
But we see it again, obviously. But I don't know. I think for as far as a small business, this starting a thing, that is my fear.
Yeah. Go to therapy.
Therapy's good.
All right. Is that enough about fear?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't like to talk about stuff like that. It makes it feel too real.
I forgot. So we had to like go fix all these, and I put more than I meant to.
Yeah, there's like so many questions, Jeff.
Do you have one of these?
Wait. Because we're actually kind of getting close to the end of the podcast. So I actually, my Katie brings a short to short corner, but it's not really like I brought a short to short corner, but I want to know your take on it. So there's this new trend on, I don't know, the reels, the grams, the TikToks, I don't know, just the shorts of women or wives or whoever, partners, walking into the bathroom while their husband or boyfriend is literally on the toilet, and they're showing like a renovation or talking about what they want to change in their bathroom at this shock of the poor person on the toilet. I want to know what you would do, or how would you react if I were to do that to you? Because I find them funny, but then again, I find them kind of horrifying, and like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor person.
All I can think the entire time, because yes, you have shown me some of these. I just think they are literally the dumbest things I have ever seen. So I don't know that I have.
Well, I think that they would agree with you too.
I think that there's better ways to spend your social media time than watching those videos.
But I like to laugh. I feel like I am definitely the typical person to cackle laugh at reels.
We have a different definition of what funny is.
It's true.
I would just close. Well, we have the benefit. I would just close the little door.
Yeah, but what if you were in that bathroom and I walked in? How would you react?
I would probably tell you to leave.
But what if I didn't leave?
Then I would probably just sit there.
Would you like try to? Because I know that sometimes that they would just grab stuff, try to cover themselves up. Would you be one like that? Or you would just wave?
Yeah. I mean, if you've decided that that's going to be the type of a relationship that we're going to have with the outside world, I'm in.
Okay. Well, you're in.
You've made this choice and I'm going to own it for you. Yeah, that's quite a tonal shift, Katie.
Sorry.
I would like you to now remedy that by picking one of these other questions.
Okay.
Because you just had to get that in. And boy, you're lucky this is not an edited podcast, because I'm not so sure that would have made the cut.
I'm just like reading through these and trying to. Okay, here we go. So this comes from Bright Club 3985.
Okay.
How do you know if you're being consistent or just climbing the wrong ladder? Like if you're on the right path or not.
Yeah, and their point is, if you're going down the wrong ladder, it doesn't always feel obviously wrong there in the moment. Sometimes you only know that in hindsight.
Yeah.
So how do you know if you're just like doing the thing because you're committed to doing the thing versus do I need to make a shift? Humans are a weirdly consistent lot. Like if we feel like we are the type of people who fill in the blank, it is very likely that we're going to follow through on that thing. There was a study done by there's a number of them, but like environmental studies where people make commitments on like being asked like in a survey if they would save money on their electricity bill or something. And I'm probably going to butcher like the like whole premise of how the study worked and all that. But the result is basically if you got people to say that like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing, a lot of people just follow through with that thing. Like they've said that like, okay, I'm going to save money on electricity. I'm going to help the environment. And I think I can do this much or whatever. But the funny thing is like that also had carryover in not specific to that domain, but like things that would be consistent with that type of person. That also had an increase for those people as well. So like if it was like, okay, I'm also going to not litter as much, and like the littering rates of those people were also higher. But with control groups of people that like were doing things prior to that point, because you have electricity usage data, so like they were no more or less like doing things before, but then like they had the commitments versus just people who saw ads for using less electricity. So it's a valid question to ask, am I just going down a path, or is this actually the right thing to be spending my time on? I think the important part about this is and I recommend writing them down, but writing down goals, like what do you want out of life? I think that at a baseline, you should know, like you should be able to, if someone asks you, what do you want to achieve in the next 5 years? I feel like you should be able to give people an answer. I don't think a lot of people could. I think they would struggle. Katie, what do you want in the next 5 years? You don't have to do this.
Yeah, don't know.
But I think most people probably don't have like an answer that they could just rattle off.
Yeah.
But I think you should be able to, whether or not you would like to in front of a camera on a podcast that your husband asks you right away, could be another answer. But I think you should be able to. And so I'd encourage you to write down those goals and then see what actions in your life are taking you closer to those things and which things are not going to result in those things. And then have the willingness to make hard changes if the thing that you say that you want it isn't going to be achieved by the path that you're going down, then you are going to either have to change your goals or change what you do. Those are really the only two paths there.
Yeah. And that can feel really hard, especially if you, like this person, used a ladder. But when you have to put that ladder down and get on a whole new ladder, that can feel really hard and really overwhelming. But I do think sitting down and identifying what it is that you want to do in 5 years, I think that's a really good exercise.
Well, and I think what the benefit is like if you do have to get on a new ladder, you're not getting on the new ladder with the same skills and the same like knowledge that you did when you got on the other ladder.
Yeah, that's
like
very true.
When you switch ladders, like you're doing that with an intentionality and a momentum that you didn't have when you were just picking a ladder kind of just because this was the one that I was going down. And so I'm doing the things because I do the things because I do the things. So I think and honestly, being able to switch those ladders, be able to switch those focus and really refine how you spend your time and what you do on your day to day, I think that's a massively beneficial skill.
Yeah.
And not every ladder change has to be this big, massive shift in how you live your life or like your big change of goals. It can be something like, hey, you know what? I'm spending an hour and a half every day on my phone. I want that to be closer to an hour. And so I'm going to take that 30 minutes and instead I'm going to read or whatever, or I'm going to go to bed earlier. Heck, that alone, taking your screen time down from an hour and a half to an hour and using that 30 minutes to just go to bed earlier could have a massive change. That is a ladder. It takes intentionality, and that's going down a shift, or that is a shift in what you're going down. But man, that can have a massive impact, and probably frees up mental capacity and time, and that like you realize like, okay, I can figure out how to do, like I can say that I want to do a thing and I can do it. So what else does that mean that I can do that with? I think that starts you down roads that can dramatically change how things what the outcomes are.
Yeah. And I think to try not to overthink it too much, because then it can prevent you from wanting to even do anything about it.
Now, one thing I'll say that's like kind of counter to all the other things that I've said is there is going to be no shortage of interesting things, shiny objects that can distract you from what you actually want to achieve. And so that's why I go back to, the goal, writing things down and knowing what your goals are, because sometimes the answer is I have this like thing that seems cool and sexy and exciting, but when I look at my goals, I'm like, I actually need to stay on this ladder. And depending on your personality type, that might be the more often thing that you need to do is say, hey, I have these goals, and if I want to achieve those, I know that I need to spend my time doing XYZ thing. And so because of that, even though that ladder is really exciting, I need to stay down this path and I need to be consistent. Sometimes it's not as exciting, that answer, but I think it's still important and clarifying. And while I still stand by all those other things I said too about, the value and the switching and all that, and like figuring out and refining what that is, I think there's also a real good benefit of like delaying gratification or Like I'm going to forego this particular thing that I know I'd like in the moment, but isn't going to result in what I should be laser focused in on. So there's definitely, making shifts and refining, but there's also addition through subtraction and making sure you're narrowing what you spend your time on, because you do have limited time. Like you can't just do all the things. You can't decide like, okay, I'm going to read 1,000 books this year. I'm going to run 15 marathons, and I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to lose weight, and fill in the blank. It's just not how it works. You can only do so many things. And so figuring out like, okay, this is my focus. That might be something that's additive and change and refine, but that also might be like, okay, I see this shiny other thing and I need to decide now I shouldn't even spend any time on that, because like it's just going to draw me in more and more. And that's not actually the goal. That's not taking me closer to my goal. And I know I need to spend more time on this thing to make it happen. So I'm going to double down on my focus, not add new shiny objects to go chase.
No, I think that's a really, really solid point.
All right. I think we've done it. We've answered some of the questions. That was kind of fun. I liked it. First and foremost, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate y'all. Like we said at the top, hit subscribe. If you do have any questions, you can email us at buildhorizons.com. If you have other questions, maybe other Reddit posts that you feel like need answered, topics to cover, or just want to say hi, we would love to hear from you. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you. Sign us off.
Yep. Thank you for building with us, and we are cheering you on.
You want to push the button? I feel like it's a you button this week.